The rain hammered down on the Nashville diner like 1,000 tiny fists, but inside, something impossible was happening. Ozzy Osbourne, the Prince of Darkness himself, sat in a corner booth wearing a comfortable grey hoodie and worn jeans, casually sipping coffee like he was just another regular guy escaping the storm. No security, no entourage. Just Ozzy, looking surprisingly at peace in his navy blue sneakers, completely unaware that the next 15 minutes would break the internet. Across from him sat Slash, guitar legend and longtime friend, dressed in a burgundy flannel shirt and faded cargo pants, his signature top hat resting on the seat beside him. They'd been talking about everything except music, old memories, terrible jokes, the kind of conversation that happens when two rock icons realize they're just two old friends who've seen too much and lived to laugh about it. But then the whisper came. A young woman, maybe 25, with trembling hands and tears pooling in her eyes, had somehow found the courage to approach their table. She looked like she'd been through a war. Dark circles under her eyes, clothes that hung loose like she'd recently lost weight, a backpack clutched to her chest like a life preserver. She stood there, frozen, her mouth opening and closing without sound. Ozzy looked up, his expression softening instantly. "You all right, love?" he asked in that unmistakable Birmingham accent, concern flooding his weathered face. That's when she leaned in close, her voice barely audible above the diner's clatter, and asked the question that would change everything. Am I a bad person? What do you think made her ask this question to a complete stranger in a random diner? The words hung in the air like smoke. Slash's coffee cup paused halfway to his lips. The waitress, who'd been approaching with a pot of coffee, stopped dead in her tracks. Even the rain seemed to quiet for a moment, as if the universe itself was holding its breath. Ozzy didn't laugh. He didn't brush her off. He didn't do what 99% of celebrities would do, smile politely and ask for privacy. Instead, he did something that nobody expected. He stood up. "Sit down," he said gently, gesturing to the empty space next to Slash. "Right now. Coffee's getting cold anyway, and you look like you could use a cup." His grey hoodie wrinkled as he moved, making him look less like a rock legend and more like somebody's concerned uncle. The girl hesitated, looking around like this might be some kind of prank, but Slash nodded encouragingly, adjusting his burgundy flannel shirt and sliding over to make room. "You heard the man," he said with a slight smile. "And trust me, when Ozzy Osbourne tells you to sit, you sit." She collapsed into the booth like a puppet with cut strings, and that's when the tears really started. Not the pretty movie tears, the ugly, gut-wrenching sobs that come from somewhere deep and dark. The entire diner had gone quiet now, people pretending not to stare but absolutely staring. Ozzy grabbed a handful of napkins and pushed them across the table. "Let it out," he said simply. "I've cried in more bathrooms, tour buses, and random places than I can count. No shame in it. Have you ever broken down in front of a stranger who showed you unexpected kindness?" For 5 full minutes, nobody spoke. They just sat there. Two rock legends and a broken stranger, while she cried into cheap diner napkins. The waitress finally came over, wordlessly refilled their cups, and left an extra piece of pie without asking for payment. There's something about genuine human suffering that makes people want to help, even in small ways. When the girl finally caught her breath, she started talking, and what came out was a story that thousands, maybe millions, would later relate to. "I made mistakes," she whispered, her voice raw. "Terrible mistakes. I hurt people I loved. I was addicted to pills for 3 years. Lost my job, my apartment, my family won't talk to me anymore. I've been clean for 8 months, but every single day I wake up and wonder if I'm just fundamentally broken. If I'm a bad person who doesn't deserve forgiveness." She looked directly at Ozzy, mascara running down her face. "And I saw you sitting here and I thought, if anyone would understand what it's like to be the villain in your own story, maybe it would be you. So I had to ask, am I bad? Can someone like me ever really be good?" The silence that followed was deafening. Somewhere in the kitchen, dishes clattered. Outside, thunder rumbled. But at that booth, time seemed to have stopped entirely. Ozzy leaned back, his grey hoodie creasing at the shoulders, and let out a long breath. When he spoke, his voice was quieter than anyone had ever heard it on stage, but somehow it carried more power. "You want to know if you're a bad person?" he began, his eyes locked on hers. "I've bitten the head off a bat. I've done enough drugs to kill a small village. I've screamed at people I love, destroyed hotel rooms, and spent years of my life so messed up I barely remember them. What's the worst mistake you've ever made that you thought defined you forever?" He paused, letting that sink in. "But here's what I learned, and it took me way too bloody long to figure it out. Bad people don't ask if they're bad. They don't care. They don't lie awake at night wondering if they've hurt someone. They don't sit in diners crying about whether they deserve forgiveness. Slash nodded slowly, his burgundy flannel shifting as he leaned forward. He's right. I've known actually bad people. People who'd step on anyone to get ahead, who enjoyed causing pain. They sleep like babies. You know why? Because they don't have a conscience screaming at them. But you, Ozzy continued, pointing at her with a finger that had played 1,000 stages, you're torturing yourself. That guilt you're feeling, that's not proof you're bad. That's proof you're human. That's proof you have a soul that knows right from wrong. The girl's sobbing had stopped, replaced by something that looked almost like hope. Fragile as glass? 8 months clean? Ozzy asked. She nodded. That's not nothing, love. That's everything. Do you know how hard that is? I've fallen off the wagon more times than I can count. Every single day you choose not to go back to that darkness. You're being brave. You're being strong. He reached across the table and took her hands in his, hands that had played Black Sabbath riffs, hands that had shaken through withdrawals, hands that were shaking slightly even now. Listen to me. You are not your mistakes. You are not the worst thing you've ever done. You are what you choose to do next. Every single day. Do you believe people can truly change, or are we always defined by our past? Slash added quietly, I've got friends who died because they couldn't find their way out. The fact that you're still here, still fighting, still caring about being a good person, that's not weakness. That's the strongest thing a person can do. The girl was openly weeping again, but these tears were different. Cleaner somehow, like a wound finally being washed out. But my family won't even talk to me. I destroyed everything. How do I come back from that? Ozzy's expression turned serious, the lines on his face deepening. You don't come back from it. You can't. What's done is done, and you can't change the past no matter how much you want to. He paused, and the girl's face started to fall. But here's the thing. You don't need to go back. You need to go forward. You need to become someone new, someone better. And maybe, just maybe, the people you hurt will see that person eventually. Or maybe they won't. But you can't control that. He squeezed her hands tighter. What you can control is who you are right now in this moment. Are you going to use tonight? Are you going to give up? Or are you going to walk out of this diner, find a meeting, call your sponsor, and fight for one more day? The gray hoodie bunched at his elbows as he leaned even closer. Because I promise you, 8 months from now, when you're celebrating 16 months clean, this moment right here will matter. Every moment you choose to keep going matters. You're building something, even if you can't see it yet. Slash pulled out his phone, a battered old thing that had definitely seen better days, much like its owner. Here's my personal email, he said, scribbling on a napkin with the waitress's pen. I'm serious. When you hit a year clean, you email me. I want to know about it. And if you're struggling before then, you email me too. You're not alone in this. When was the last time a stranger believed in you more than you believed in yourself? Ozzy nodded. And you know what? I think you're gonna make it. You know why? Because you walked up to a random table in a random diner and asked the hardest question a person can ask. That takes guts. Bad people don't have guts like that. They have excuses. The girl stared at the napkin in her hands like it was a winning lottery ticket, then looked up at both of them with red, rimmed eyes that were somehow brighter than they'd been 10 minutes ago. I don't know what to say. I thought you'd tell me to leave you alone, or that I was being dramatic, or that you're a bad person. Ozzy interrupted with a sad smile. Love, I've been called every name in the book. Bad is just a word people use when they don't understand the whole story. And trust me, nobody's story is simple. He stood up, his navy sneakers squeaking slightly on the diner floor, and pulled her into a hug. It was awkward and unexpected and absolutely genuine. Slash stood too, his cargo pants wrinkling as he joined in, and suddenly there was this bizarre, beautiful moment of 3 people who, by all logic, should never have been in the same place at the same time, holding each other in a dingy Nashville diner while rain poured outside. When they finally pulled apart, the girl was smiling through her tears. Thank you, she whispered. You have no idea what this means? Oh, I think I do, Ozzy said softly. Because someone did this for me once, long time ago. Told me I wasn't hopeless when I was sure I was. I'm just passing it on. Would you pass on an act of kindness like this if someone had shown it to you? The girl left the diner walking straighter than she'd walked in, clutching that napkin like a talisman. Ozzy and Slash sat back down, their coffee now cold, but neither seemed to mind. They didn't say anything for a long moment, just sat there listening to the rain and the resumed chatter of the diner. You think she'll make it? Slash asked finally, his burgundy flannel sleeve rolling up as he checked his watch. Ozzy shrugged, his grey hoodie shifting. I don't know. But she's got a better chance now than she did 20 minutes ago. Sometimes that's all any of us can do, give someone a slightly better chance. What neither of them knew was that someone had been filming. A college kid 3 booths over, phone half hidden, had captured the entire interaction. Not with malicious intent, he'd actually been filming his own dinner for a food blog, but the audio had picked up everything, every word, every moment of raw, honest humanity. By the next morning, the video had 17 million views. By that evening, it had 50 million. Within 48 hours, Am I a Bad Person was trending worldwide. The comments section became a confessional, thousands upon thousands of people sharing their own struggles, their own guilt, their own journey toward forgiveness. Addiction, mental health. Mistakes they couldn't take back. It all poured out in a flood of humanity that reminded the world that maybe, just maybe, we're all more alike than we think. The girl, who asked to remain anonymous but gave one interview to a recovery podcast, said that she was now 11 months clean and had reconnected with her sister. She kept the napkin with Slash's email in a frame above her bed. She said it reminded her that she wasn't bad. She was just human. Have you ever been the person who needed to hear these words? Or the person who needed to say them? Ozzy, when asked about the incident in a later interview, just shrugged beneath his comfortable hoodie and said, I don't know why everyone's making such a big deal of it. Someone asked me a question. I answered honestly. That's it. But that wasn't it. Not really. Because sometimes, in random diners on rainy nights, when celebrities dressed in grey hoodies and burgundy flannels decide to just be human beings instead of legends, magic happens. The kind of magic that reminds us that redemption isn't some grand, sweeping gesture. It's not about erasing the past or pretending it didn't happen. It's about sitting down with your pain, acknowledging it, and then choosing, again and again and again, to keep moving forward anyway. It's about understanding that the question, am I a bad person, isn't one that gets answered once. It's answered every day, in every choice, in every moment we decide to be better than we were yesterday. And sometimes, just sometimes, it's answered in the kindness of strangers who know exactly what darkness feels like and choose to be light anyway. The rain eventually stopped that night in Nashville. The diner closed. Ozzy and Slash went their separate ways. But somewhere out there, a young woman woke up the next morning and chose not to use. And the morning after that. And the one after that. Because someone told her she wasn't bad. Someone told her she was worth saving. And sometimes, that's all any of us need to hear. What would you say to someone who asked you, am I a bad person,